the services that SowCo Develops provides for a budding artist is first going before them in the work that is required in order to get their work to market, and second, sharing with them the knowledge that we have learned so that they have a guide to the extent of our experience and what we know. While SowCo Develops artist services and management line encompasses film, social media, print, and music production, in this chapter we will primarily be speaking about the music industry. What is interesting about this industry is what appears to be the severe lack of accountability in business operations on the part of the vendors, and this is where we can help. To illustrate this, I will bring up an example of one of the experiences that we had with a distribution vendor. This is a vendor that we employ to put my husband Shane's music on social media platforms such as Spotify, Apple Music, and Amazon Music. Now, Shane, being the artist, is excellent when it comes to producing great music. His focus is rightly on this effort and not necessarily on the administration. As a result, when red flags surface, this is not something that he may notice. For me, being that my focus is on administration, when red flags present themselves, I do notice and I take action accordingly in order to protect the interest of the artist. Again, this is one of the values of working with SowCo Develops. If you're an artist, you can focus on your art and we will watch out for you in the administration and everything that surrounds your art so that your focus may be to produce, develop, and share your art with the world. So, with this distribution vendor, the first red flag occurred the first time we requested that money be withdrawn from our account. This vendor sets up artist accounts so that the artist may keep money earned from royalties in the vendor account, and then with every new distribution, which requires a fee, the artist may draw from the money that is already readily available in their vendor account. This was a convenient method of payment for Shane to fund his distribution, and as a result, he never transferred money out of the distribution vendor's account. However, when we began organizing the back-end infrastructure for Shane's music, we opted instead to request a distribution of funds in order to keep all money earned in one account, our bank account. This vendor had been completely quiet up until this request, and we were never notified of any problems with our music. When we requested this withdrawal, all of a sudden the vendor notified us that they had been notified of evidence of abnormal streaming activity on one or more of our releases. What was very odd about this communication is that it was never given up until we requested a funds transfer, and the distribution vendor never provided any documentation corroborating their claim. After doing significant research into this behavior of this vendor in particular, what we found is that they had done this to thousands of artists and did get away without providing proof of their claims. I must say that I have never encountered this shady business from a widely known so-called reputable vendor in any industry except for the music industry. So they wrote to us, quote, "We suggest that you and/or your fans discontinue any such activities in order to avoid further action being taken on your account. This may include the removal of your music from stores withholding additional funds they deem to be artificial, or the closure of your account." End quote. Now, this was impossible for us because we were not engaging in what the industry terms streaming fraud, nor were our fans. So again, this was red flag number one. The timing of it all was incredibly suspicious, and they provided no evidence to back up their claims against us. Then there was a second red flag, and this was the timeliness of the distribution vendor's customer service response time. While this may seem insignificant, again, remember that what is valuable in partnering with SowCo Develops is we spot red flags quicker than the average person because we are focused and engaged in the business of administration full time. This behavior is common across online vendors that are at worst fraudulent in their business dealings and at best irresponsible in their business dealings. Fraudulent and irresponsible vendors make promises regarding turnaround times and product deliverables that they do not fulfill. For this vendor, we paid for the highest level plan, which on their website states includes a 1 business day customer service response time. They did not deliver. It was May 11th that we sent our inquiry to customer service regarding our payout being declined, and the vendor did not respond until May 14th. We sent a follow-up request to their late response on May 14th, and we never heard back at all from the vendor addressing our follow-up request. This vendor promised that this was a service that they provided based on the amount that we paid for our plan. If you have experienced a similar issue and may relate, this promising of service that is not delivered is similar to vendors advertising a 100% money back satisfaction guarantee and then never refunding the money when they severely underdeliver the product. We have found that this is common practice across fraudulent and irresponsible vendors. So when it happens, we note it and we pay very careful attention to the actions of the vendor going forward in order to determine whether or not we will continue business with them. We did eventually get the payout that we requested. However, as a result of their actions, we were on high alert regarding their operations, and they did continue to act out additional red flags. For example, Shane was using his personal email for his account. Again, as part of SowCo Develops' back-end organization of infrastructure for Shane's music business, we changed the email to our business account rather than Shane's personal account. It was a standard change of email that if you deal with online accounts, you are most likely accustomed to the standard process of changing an email in an online account. The additional issue from the vendor surfaced when the account email was successfully changed, but this account email change did not translate to the email changing in the vendor's support system. This resulted in the support email being out of sync with the account email, the distribution vendor being unable to locate our account as a result when we submitted support requests, and the support email continuing to be Shane's personal email. There was so wide of a disconnect between the support system and the artist account that when we sent a request through our artist account, through their website, by the time they received the support email, they had no idea which artist account it belonged to. They had to reply to the old email, which was Shane's personal email, and request the account email. They did this every time that we sent a request, which meant that they did not keep records across multiple support requests in order to adequately serve their customers. We asked repeatedly that they update their support system with the correct email. And one time they said that to correct the incorrect email in their system, we had to submit our government ID over email. This is incredibly odd behavior, and they never did correct the error. Then, speaking of identity verification, on another note, we were given a notification on the site only that Shane's identity verification session with one of their partner vendors was expired. First, Shane never did an identity verification. He was never required to do this to set up an account. So the note that it expired was not true. There was no verification to begin with to be expired. Second, we were not familiar with the partner company. We had never heard of them, so we went to investigate them. The partner company's entire business was identity verification. It was well documented that their product did not work, and artists were very confused why the distribution vendor would use the identity verification service that did not work as a result. There were a number of complaints that the distribution vendor shut down access to an artist account until they would verify their identity with the partner vendor. When SowCo Develops reviewed the partner vendor's website, there were several typos and odd wording that signaled it was a foreign company. When looking into it, we found that the company is from Lithuania. So if we had actually undergone the identity verification that our distribution vendor requested, we would be sending our secure government ID information to a private vendor out of the country in an app that did not work and therefore did not deliver what it promised. Besides this, there was poor programming on the distribution vendor's site. There was a notification module that showed that notifications were pending. The notifications that they showed as not viewed were 3 to 7 months old, and we had viewed them several times. Again, this is the type of behavior that we find in companies that truly are not watching out for the interest of their customers. They do not take care of obvious development issues in order to facilitate a pleasant user experience. Showing that notifications have not been viewed when they actually have is not being respectful of the customer's time. I know this may seem overly sensitive on our part. However, we only see these issues with companies that do fraudulent or at best poor business. Also, the distribution vendor's payout was not done directly. They used a third-party vendor. And once our bank information was entered in the third-party vendor's site, that was it. It could not be changed. We had changed our information for payment across all vendors, but due to that one alone, we had to keep old information active simply because they did not provide a means to update the payout account on their site, and they provided no way for us to get in touch with them directly, such as on the phone or via chat or email. So until we stopped taking payouts from the distribution vendor, we were forced to keep old information active that we no longer use for any other vendor. Moving on to more issues and ultimately the end of our relationship with the distribution vendor, less than 1 month after our first request to transfer money out of the vendor account to our personal bank account, we received an email from the distribution vendor noting that one of our tracks were flagged by a music platform for high levels of artificial streaming, and the track that they listed was not our track. It was a track from a different artist, so their records were out of order. As a result, they threatened to take down all of our tracks from stores, terminate our account, and impose a financial penalty. 3 days later, they caught their error and sent an updated email with the same message, but one of our songs listed instead of the incorrect song. They threatened to take down all of our tracks from stores, terminate our accounts, and impose a financial penalty. Once again, we were not engaging in artificial streaming, nor were our fans, and the distribution vendor gave no documentation in order to back up their claim that it was legitimate. Because the distribution vendor made it clear that we could not trust them to do honest business with clear accountability through transparent documentation and communication, it was at this point that we immediately contacted them and ordered that all songs be taken down from stores, our publishing agreement be terminated, our account be terminated, and our subscription not be auto-renewed. We were forced to begin again with another distribution vendor. The takedown request was done immediately. However, 1 month after these requests and the subsequent confirmation that all termination requests were received and put into effect, we received a notification via email that our account was set to renew. We promptly followed up to make sure that this was inaccurate and that our account would not be renewed, as we were assured the month prior that it would not be renewed. The reply was that it was set to renew, so they instead converted us to a free plan. We responded letting them know that we wanted no association whatsoever with them, free or not. They said that unfortunately, if we had an online account open, then there was no way not to sign up for one of their plans. We were in the position that we still had royalties that they were collecting for us from before our cancellation, so if we closed our online account, we would not be able to access or collect our money that we earned. As a result, we were forced to sign up another year of service with them if we wanted our remaining royalties. We tried to remove any payment information from their site to ensure that we would not be charged. Unfortunately, once payment information was entered, they provided no way to remove it. This again is yet another red flag, and we have only encountered operations like this from dishonest or poorly run companies. Thankfully, they did not charge us, so we did not have yet one final headache of a disputed charge that we would need to file with the bank. I realize that this is a long chapter. Know that I did not go into all of the problems with the vendor that we encountered. I only touched on the highlights. I expound on this as a case study in order to bring up an important point of which artists should be aware. What was different about this vendor as opposed to other vendors with whom we have encountered similar issues is that the company is one of the major players in the music industry for distribution and is recommended often. The nightmare that it is to deal with this company is not apparent for new artists entering into the industry. While normally we only encounter these types of issues primarily with obviously fraudulent businesses, this company is in a different category, and it has now put us on alert that we must watch out for businesses with horrible business practices in the music industry in general. Somehow, they are managing to get away with what appears to us to be illegal practices and still present themselves as doing legal business. We have been following following this dynamic and researching the problems in the industry as a result of our role in it. And we do see that artists are attempting to combat the injustice as best as they can. Options that they are looking into are unionization and lawsuits. They are vocal on social media platforms regarding the problems that they are encountering in efforts to expose the distribution vendors' poor, bad, and even illegal business practices. As for us, our primary concern presently is to locate vendors that do business honestly, and that we can therefore recommend to the artists that SowCo Develops serves. Since we switched distribution vendors, we have had no issues. We actually found a distribution company that does not appear to be one of the major players. They are not easily found in online searches for distribution vendors. However, they have served major artists who are incredibly successful, and we found our new distribution company through these artists. Each month, they automatically send our royalty payments without issue. They have never sent us a notice that our music has been flagged for artificial streaming. Any promise to us that they have made, they have fulfilled, and their customer service has been prompt and helpful. So far, it seems to us that they are an honest company doing honest business. They are more expensive than the larger names that appear when artists do an online search for distribution vendors, but there may be a good reason for this. It seems to us that honest, good business does, as a general rule, cost more than less than honest business. So, to the best of our ability and to the extent of the research that we have done in our own work for SowCo Develops budding artist services and management, we will guide the artist in regard to which vendors appear to do honest business and therefore should be employed, and which vendors to avoid entirely. This is not the only vendor with whom we have had a horrific experience, so we can help the artist to avoid the bad experiences that we had to walk through to get where we are now. With every new vendor and every new venture, the end result is that we are more aware of the good and the bad and where to search in order to find potential problems with a vendor and which vendors appear to do good business.